We're going to be getting started tonight now. We're a little bit delayed because Joel and I were the only ones from our MCG that are here tonight. So I recruited some help from the Metro MCG to help with setup of the football game and everything. And now that I'm here and I've eaten, we'll get started. Our theme for the Men's Summer Bible Study this year is Wisdom from Proverbs for Men. I'm building a life based on the wisdom of God. And I don't know that I'm on. Do I need to, we're good? Okay. So you got to hear me crunching my Oreos and stuff while I was, awesome. Okay. It's basically building a life of wisdom from Proverbs. This week's topic is going to be, actually, if I can get my notes in the right order here, guarding your purity and your path. And we're going to be covering sections from Proverbs 5 through 7. There's a really interesting theme that runs throughout those three chapters that we'll touch on. So, have you ever gotten lost when you're going somewhere? That was a quick answer. Tell a little story. One time I went backpacking with my brother in Colorado around Rampart Reservoir, which is down near Pikes Peak in that area. You could actually see Pikes Peak in the distance from some parts of the trail. Well, one day, it was the third day of our hike, and we were going through this area. It was wide and flat, lots of trees, and the ground was covered with this almost like pea gravel, kind of scree type stuff. And have you ever tried to follow a trail through like a big gravel lot? There's not really a trail to follow. And there weren't any blazes on the trail, the little signs that are usually up about this high on the trees indicating where the trail is. And next thing you know, we're like, I don't think we know where we are. That's a fun situation to be in the Rockies. So we started trying to think of, okay, well, if we go downhill, we'll hit a ravine and continue to follow that down because we know there's a reservoir here, and we'll eventually get to the outlet stream of the reservoir below the dam. And we did that for a couple hours, and we're like, yeah, this isn't working like we thought. So then we shifted gears and thought, well, we'll try to get to a high point and see if we can see any landmarks around based on the map. And we got up there, back up to the top of the ridge, and lo and behold, we actually found the trail once we got back up there. And so, yeah, I didn't have to eat my brother to make it back. Although it sometimes looks like I did. But when you got misplaced, if you've ever been lost like that, did you get lost all at once? No. It's a gradual thing. We thought we were doing fine and walking along, and then over time, we're looking around and we're like, wait, that looked like a trail we were on back there, but now it's gone, and we don't have a trail to follow. It was a gradual process to get lost. One small decision led to another. One small bad decision led to another. And next thing you know, we're off the path entirely. It's the same thing with sin. It rarely begins with one big decision. It's usually a lot of small decisions along the way. Small choices that slowly lead us away from God's wisdom. The passages we're going to cover tonight talk about choosing wisdom over foolishness, about guarding what influences you, about avoiding temptation before you get trapped, and recognizing that every path has a destination. the path that my brother and I found ourselves on, it would have had a destination eventually. It wouldn't have been where we wanted to end up, most likely. So we have presented in these chapters the path of wisdom and the path of folly. You younger guys know what I mean when I talk about folly? Folly is foolishness. If wisdom is doing wise things, folly is doing unwise things. They're opposites. Each path is represented by a different kind of woman, and each woman calls out to us, trying in her own way to get men to follow her. Wisdom is quiet, steady, and firm. Folly is loud, reveling, and fun. Hey, come over and check this out. That's folly. Wisdom is like, hey, why don't you come over here a minute? I want to show you something. So let's take a look at Proverbs 4:23. I will read that once I get here. Proverbs 4:23. Keep your heart with all vigilance, for from it flow the springs of life. Do you know what vigilance is? Younger guys? Matthias, do you know what vigilance is? Being intently watchful. So when we were getting ready to hatch our chicken eggs, did we watch them carefully? That's vigilance. If you're in a game and you're camped out somewhere and you're waiting for another player to come around the corner, yet that activity of watching carefully for them, that's vigilance. And the Proverbs says, keep your heart with all vigilance. That means to watch over it and make sure you're keeping track of what's affecting it and what's influencing it. If I could get someone to read Proverbs 5, verses 1 through 8, please.
I'll take it.
Okay?
My son, be attentive to my wisdom. Incline your ear to my understanding, that you may keep discretion and your lips may guard knowledge. For the lips of a forbidden woman drip honey, and her speech is smoother than oil. But in the end, she is bitter as wormwood, sharp as a two-edged sword. Her feet go down to death. Her steps follow the path to Sheol. She does not ponder the path of life. Her ways wander, but she does not know it. And now, O sons, listen to me, and do not depart from the words of my mouth. Keep your way far from her, and do not even go near the door of her house.
It's interesting that the writer of Proverbs uses a woman to describe wisdom and folly. Now, is this particularly, like he's talking about the forbidden woman, is that for particularly meaning he's, I guess misogynistic is the big word for it, but do you think he's being a he-man woman hater here? No. He's describing both of these as a woman because both are attractive in their own way. By nature, God created men to be drawn to women and attracted to women. And he sets this up in that we can be attracted by wisdom or we can be attracted by foolishness. This forbidden woman is foolishness. And he describes the ways that we can get sucked in and our lives can be destroyed when we get pulled in to the ways of this forbidden woman that leads us to folly. He says, her lips drip honey. The stuff that you shouldn't be doing that draws you away from God's wisdom, is going to look good. It's going to seem pleasant at the time. The lips of the forbidden woman drip honey. It's something sweet, something you want, something that tastes good. And that can be anything. It can be your gaming. It could be scrolling reels online. It can be junk food. It can be any number of things. Her speech is smoother than oil. She really builds a convincing argument. Really, you know what? You've been working out hard all week at the gym. It's not going to hurt you to have an extra scoop of ice cream and another Oreo. And then afterwards, you've already had one. You could just work out extra hard next week. Go ahead and have another one. She builds convincing arguments to drag you away from the path. In the end, she is bitter as wormwood. Because you know what? That extra workout you're doing next week to take care of the ice cream and Oreos makes it harder to work out that next week. You're not going to perform as well as you did your previous workouts. She's bitter as wormwood, sharp as a two-edged sword. Her feet go down to death. Her steps follow the path to Sheol. Some of these decisions she's going to get you to make and make a convincing argument of can destroy your life. There are alcoholics and drug addicts all over the world that followed her on that path to Sheol and followed her feet down to death. She doesn't ponder the path of life. Her ways wander and she does not know it. What this is talking about is when you're making those kinds of decisions, you're not thinking about where does this path end up? Where is this path taking me? All this woman is wanting you to think about is how does it feel right now? Don't think about don't think about consequences. No. It feels good right now, so just do it. She doesn't ponder the ways of life. Her ways wander and she doesn't even know it because she doesn't have an end in mind. But the writer of Proverbs finishes this up. And now, O sons, listen to me and do not depart from the words of my mouth. Keep your way far from her. And do not go near the door of her house. Does the writer of Proverbs say, hang out with her every once in a while? Or say hey when you're passing? No. He says, stay far away. I like to joke around sometimes. Somebody, I'll be parting ways with someone and they'll say, see you later. And I'll say, not if I see you first. The implication in that is, if I see you first, I'm going another direction and you won't see me. That's how we need to be with that woman of folly. If we see it coming, we go the other way. We make tracks to a different place. So life is made up of paths, not isolated decisions. Every habit, friendship, and decision is taking us somewhere. If we have a habit of lipping off at people in authority over us, that path is going to lead somewhere. Usually the unemployment office. Or being grounded from the fun stuff we like to do. Those little decisions put you on a path. And you need to stop and think. Every one of us in this room needs to stop and think. Are the decisions that we're making today keeping us on the path for the destination we want to get to? Pilgrim's Progress. They're following a path through the land to get to the celestial city. And there are various points where they're tempted to go off on a different path that looks easier. And every time they get in trouble. Wisdom listens, but foolishness ignores instruction. Temptation promises life, at least fun, but it only delivers death. God tells us through the Proverbs here to stay far away from temptation, not see how close we can get. It's like being at the edge of a cliff that's undercut. You want to stay back away from it. You don't want to see how close to the edge you can get and take a chance that it crumbles out from under you.
I was just thinking a very concrete application of this, especially for the younger guys in the room. Like the principle you're articulating is like, if you know that there's a situation coming or there's something coming your way where you're just going to be put in a situation where like there's just a lot of temptation. Maybe it's like drugs or alcohol, or maybe it's women or some kind of immoral, sinful temptation. The principle you're articulating is like remove yourself from that situation, get out of Dodge. Like I think that's just that's a helpful thing to keep in mind, but also to like especially for people who are younger, to like count the cost. Like once you kind of get middle aged and you're just like have so much control over your life and schedule, it's kind of like, if you disappoint your friends by not doing something with them on a Friday night, it's kind of like not nearly, it doesn't feel like such a big deal as maybe when you're in high school, or maybe when you're in middle school, or maybe you're in college, and like you will be put in some situations where you have to choose, like, man, like, do I hang out with my friends at 2 a.m. when I know there are going to be these things going around or nearby maybe that I shouldn't be doing or shouldn't be near? It's like there's a big cost counting that goes to that, but it's a really important choice to make now. How are you going to handle those situations when they come up?
Right. And we go through that, I think, a little bit later on here. That whole idea of deciding now how you're going to react to different situations. If this comes up, this is my response. And doing that ahead of time, because those decisions are nearly impossible to make at that moment. Some other passages, I believe they're on your handouts there, that you can reference later. Psalm 1:1-6 talks about 2 paths and 2 destinations. Matthew 7:13-14 is where we talk about the narrow gate and the wide gate. James 1:14-15 talks about the progression of sin. How first they're tempted, and then they're drawn in, and then they start thinking about it, and then they commit the sin, and then the sin leads to death. And Romans 13:14 tells us to make no provision for the flesh. Next, we will talk about the idea of guarding your heart. And this is going to build on that exact thing Mr. Ort was just talking about, with dealing with these things beforehand and deciding this is where I will stand and this is where I am going to part ways with people that are not on this path. If someone could read Proverbs 6:20-35. Let's make sure.
Proverbs 6:20-35.
Yeah, it's a longer passage, but we'll go ahead and go through it.
Would you like to read it again?
Yes, go ahead.
Proverbs 6:20-35. My son, keep your father's commandment, and forsake not your mother's teaching. Bind them on your heart always. Tie them around your neck. When you walk, they will lead you. When you lie down, they will watch over you. When you awake, they will talk with you. For the commandment is a lamp, and the teaching a light, and the reproofs of discipline are the way of life. To preserve you from the evil woman, from the smooth tongue of the adulteress. Do not desire her beauty in your heart, and do not let her capture you with her eyelashes. For the price of a prostitute is only a loaf of bread, but a married woman hunts down a precious life. Can a man carry fire next to his chest and his clothes not be burned? Or can one walk on hot coals and his feet not be scorched? So is
touches her will go unpunished. People do not despise a thief when he steals, to satisfy his appetite when he is hungry. But if he is caught, he will pay sevenfold. He will give all the goods of his house. He who commits adultery lacks sense. He who does it destroys himself. He will not get wounds. He will get wounds and dishonor, and his disgrace will not be wiped away. For jealousy makes a man furious. He will not spare when he takes revenge. He will accept no compensation. He will refuse, though you multiply gifts.
So, what does the writer of Proverbs say in verses 20 and 21? Actually, 20 through 22. I'm going to reread those. My son, keep your father's commandment and forsake not your mother's teaching. Bind them on your heart always. Tie them around your neck. When you walk, they will lead you. When you lie down, they will watch over you. And when you awake, they will talk with you. What is the writer saying here? Pay attention to those who are teaching you while you're young. Remember what they teach you. He says, bind it to your heart. Memorize the things that they're telling you. Put them around your neck. Have things to remind you of what the right thing is. Prepare ahead of time for the dangerous temptation to come. Because if you don't, you can fall into temptation, go down the path of folly, and it can have disastrous consequences for you. The battle against temptation is usually won long before temptation appears. You have to make those decisions and put the things in place to protect you from temptation before it gets there. Because if you don't, when that temptation comes, it can and will overpower you. The young man in Proverbs 7 didn't suddenly fall. First, he wandered. Then he watched. And he lingered. And he listened. Then he followed. See all those little steps? Remember at the very beginning we talked about you don't get off the path and get lost all at once. It's a series of small decisions that you make along the way. He decided he was going to just wander. He didn't have a specific destination in mind. He's just going to kind of wander and drift through. Something caught his eye, and he watched. And as he watched, it got more of his attention, and his gaze lingered. Then he started listening. And as he listened, that sounds nice. I think I will follow. And when he started following, where did that path lead? Destruction. Sin always progresses. So he wandered, then he watched, then he lingered. I'm missing a blank on my sheet. He listened, then he followed. You remember in the beginning, we read Proverbs 4:23. It said to guard your heart. We went and saw, like Pastor Jared did yesterday, we went to see the movie Young Washington. There was an area that they had found a French fort. They were going to confront the French. They were told they needed to build a fort where they were. That fort was to guard the men that were with him. Did that fort just pop up out of the ground? No. It took time for them to dig the trenches and put the log palisade in place and set the tents up. All of that took time and preparation to guard them against the enemy that was coming. we need to take the same care in the path that we follow, the path of wisdom. We need to dig our trenches and set up our palisade walls. Make those boundaries now before the enemy gets there. Because if you wait till the enemy is upon you, you won't have a defense. Matthew 5:27-30. That's where Jesus says that our sin begins in our heart. That we don't even have to act outwardly on our sin. That if we even meditate on the idea of committing that sin, we've already committed it in our heart. Job 31:1 is where Job talks about, I have made a covenant with my eyes that I might not sin against you. He prepared ahead of time and made that covenant and said, no, this is where I stop. 2 Timothy 2:22, Paul encourages and exhorts, flee youthful passions. In 1 Corinthians 6:18 says to flee from immorality. You flee from it. You don't sit around and watch and see what it's going to do. You flee from it. I'll come back to these questions if we have time here. I wish circumstances had been different so that we could spend some more time on this, because this is a really good topic. The next section we're going to talk about is on the back of your sheet here, and it's the key to the whole thing. Fix your eyes on Christ. Someone would read Proverbs 5:21-23. We'll reread that here, or 5, not 6, 5. Okay?
5:21-23.
Yes.
For a man's ways are before the eyes of the Lord, and he ponders all his paths. The iniquities of the wicked ensnare him, and he is held fast in the cords of his sin. He dies for lack of discipline, and because of his great folly, he is led astray.
The ultimate answer to temptation isn't simply more self-control. That's a part of it, but it's not all of it. Ultimately, it comes from a stronger love for Christ. The goal of the book of Proverbs isn't to get us to follow these rules for moral behavior. What does he say the beginning of wisdom is? The fear of God. That's what Proverbs points us to. Fearing the Lord is where we should end up after reading through Proverbs. John 15:4-5 tells us that apart from Christ, we can do nothing. 1 Corinthians 1:30 says that Christ became our wisdom. Hebrews 4:15-16. Jesus understands our temptation. He was tempted just as every man, yet without sin. And he gives us grace to help us in our time of temptation. And Hebrews 12:1-2 tells us to fix our eyes on Christ, the author and finisher of our faith. So ultimately, it's by following Christ and loving Christ, having a desire to not hurt him and not crucify him afresh with our sin. Recognizing that he bled and died to pay for our sin, and we don't want to add to that. That is what should drive us to maintain the path of righteousness. And we prepare for that ahead of time by loving Christ, meditating on his word, deciding ahead of time what your boundaries are, what you are or are not going to do. Mr. Ort mentioned earlier about being out with your friends at 2 o'clock in the morning. Well, what kind of a boundary could you set up to avoid that situation? You decide ahead of time, I am never going to be out with anybody until 2 in the morning. Unless it's watching UFC.
With the chef.
Yeah. I don't think we've done 2 o'clock yet, but it's been close to 1 before we've gotten out before. Anyway, so let's think about some of these ideas as we wrap up. First thing I want to talk about is what are some modern, bless you, street corners we should avoid. In that second section, it talked about the young man and how he followed this adulterous woman and her path led down to Sheol. What are some of the corners we can avoid or should avoid to stay out of temptation?
I think entertainment and social media is
Yep.
probably the first one that comes to mind. It's like, yeah, whatever foolish things you might do with your friends is pretty high up there. But there's just like, you just have access to so much sin and debauchery with just a couple taps or swipes on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
That having that absolutely locked down is like essential step number one.
Yeah. Yeah, that is definitely a major influence that we should put up safeguards and barriers to. What about inappropriate friendships? Say there's somebody from work that you hang around, and it seems like anytime they have you over to their place or something, you smell funny things. Or they're playing music with questionable lyrics. And just stuff that it can easily drag you down the wrong path. They're obviously not following Christ. They're obviously living in a foolish state. Do you draw the line there? Say, hey, I can't hang out with you. I can't do the things that you do. I don't want to do the things that you do. I have no interest in them. What about private compromises? Where you just kind of think to yourself, oh, it's not going to hurt this one time. Nobody's going to know. There's nobody around. Job said, I've made a covenant with my eyes that I might not sin against you. He decided that he wasn't even going to leave the option open for private compromise. He said, no, I will not. Biggest application point for that. Don't ask, how close can I get? Ask, why am I going this direction at all? What is my purpose? What do I expect to gain out of this? Think ahead to the end of the path, the consequences. Because the foolish woman doesn't want you to think about that. She wants you to have fun and feel good right now. But stop and think, what's at the end of the path? And what am I looking to get out of this? I'm going to read Proverbs 4:25 to 27 in conclusion. Let your eyes look directly forward and your gaze be straight before you. Ponder the path of your feet. Then all your ways will be sure. Do not swerve to the right or to the left. Turn your foot away from evil. There's 3 takeaways here. 1, Choose your path carefully. Especially you younger guys. Listen up. I want all you younger guys to look at me. Choose your path carefully. Decide now if you're going to follow this foolish woman or if you're going to listen to your mom and dad and follow the path of truth and wisdom. And remember, once you've decided your path, every tiny step you take has a destination. Writer of Proverbs said, don't swerve to the right. If I'm going straight to that door and I swerve to the right, I've only taken 2 steps. Am I going in the right direction to get to the door now? No, I'm going to that door now. What's behind that door? I don't know. I can see what's through that door. I know what's at the end of the path of wisdom and righteousness. I don't know for sure what's behind that door. What if I swerve to the left? 2 steps. Now I'm headed this way. Do I know for sure what's over there? No. Don't swerve to the right or to the left. Every small decision has a destination. And finally, guard your heart intentionally, not accidentally. Not like you're swatting away a fly. It's like putting a head net on to keep the fly away from you to begin with. Guard your heart intentionally. This is what I want my heart to be at the end of all of this. And I am going to guard that. And I'm going to do things to protect that. And I'm going to stay on this path to make sure that I get to the destination that I want to get to. Temptation is easiest to defeat before it ever begins. Keep your eyes on Christ. Wisdom is not merely avoiding sin, it's following Christ. Anybody have anything they would like to ask or comment on or add? Phil?
Can I add one more thing?
Sure.
There's a great New Testament word. It's used in some of the translations, maybe not in the NIV. It's the sin of dissipation. It's dissipation or dissolute living. And basically, what it means is like you indulge in vices, sin, like whatever it is, and it's that sin. It's the wasting away effect, the sapping of your energy and your will to really seek after God, to strive after what He has called us to. And like particularly as men, like the way that we've been designed, like God designed us to like do stuff, like go build something, to take all that masculine energy and to pour it into some intentionally constructive, holy purpose, like having a family or having a ministry or having a career or all these things. And it's just, David committed his sin with Bathsheba when he stayed home when he was supposed to be going off to war. At the times when kings usually went off to war, David was chilling out on the roof, kicking up his heels, and not continuing to invest himself with God into the responsibilities that God had given him. And that's not to say it's wrong to like take a break or to relax from our labor, but just to be guarding, to guard ourselves, to be vigilant. Because even if we feel like we're indulging in fairly minor sins or fairly minor vices, even those things that seem more palatable to us, I know they're not really, but like the air quotes, they seem palatable. Those things eventually begin to sap our will to continue investing in the things that really matter. And it's hard to keep building something good, to keep investing in a family, to keep investing in a ministry, to keep investing in a career that matters, when we're constantly giving our energy and our attention to things that we shouldn't.
Yeah.
And that's a choice that we make. We can make that choice today. But it's a great frame of mind and perspective to have, even from when you're very young. And you have all the energy in the world to be investing in things, to make sure that you're not dissipating that energy and wasting it on foolishness.
And I like that word dissipation too, because what comes to my mind is when it fades into nothingness. That's what it is. Like when a fog bank lifts, that moisture in the air is dissipating and going away. It's nothing. And that's what happens with your life when you continually follow the path of foolishness. Yeah. Jared?
Thinking upon these things that we've been thinking about tonight, especially when it comes to sin, lust. Tool I use is I like to lean into Galatians. I think of the fruit of the Spirit and the fruit of the flesh.
Yeah.
And I just remind myself of this is the fruit of the Spirit. One big one is self-control.
Mm-hmm.
I have that underlined in my Bible. Self-control, 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 self-control.
Mm-hmm. But what should drive us to that self-control, as was mentioned earlier, is our love for Christ. Our love for Christ should motivate us to be self-controlled. Yeah. Anyone else?
I think one thing I think about a lot is I think Satan uses laziness as a huge tool in his toolbox for men.
Idle hands are the devil's workshop.
Right. I think it's, when you get off track and you're moping around and whatever, that's when those thoughts and that, whatever it is, if it's a food thing or lust or whatever, when you're just relaxing, I think that's a prime time for those things to creep in. And so I think that's a lot of why laziness is a huge, like it's warned against so much. Yeah, I think just staying on task and in everything you do, even in your time off, like be intentional about it. Don't just
Yeah.
kick your feet up and
Because you're absolutely right. Those downtimes are key points for temptation to come in. And even with, like, say you've got a Saturday off. Oh, great. Have something in mind that you want to do. Okay, I'm going to hang out with my wife, or I'm going to play with the kids, or go to the park and throw the football with the kids, or I'm going to cut the grass, or I'm going to do this project. Just because you're off from your regular job doesn't mean you need to be dead still, idle, and have nothing planned. It actually makes me kind of, when I don't have anything going on, it's like I need to be doing something. I can't stand to just sit around. So, yep.
My dad taught me this little acronym that was really helpful for fighting temptation, which is HALT, being hungry, angry, lonely, tired. And I would say HALT feed and add bored. So you can be one of those things and probably be fine. If you're hungry, eat something. If you're angry, calm down. But if you combine two or more of those things, that's a prime situation that you're in to be attacked by temptation. So when if you're angry and lonely, you're going to be really tempted to fall into sin. If you're hungry and tired, your brain's not working as smooth, you're going to be at higher risk. So it just helps you to know yourself. And when you start feeling tempted by something, it's am I hungry, angry, lonely, or tired? Can I control one or two of those things? Take it to the Lord and not be an idiot. You don't have to be a slave to the natural feelings that come.
Yeah. And on the topic of lonely, one last thing I'll add is we need to be able to rely on each other to hold each other accountable on these things, to make sure that we are, each of us, staying on the path. So check in with each other every once in a while. Say, hey, how you doing? Are you on the path? And now that we've been here, we know that what that means. the path of wisdom. Let me go ahead and close this in prayer. Father God, we come before you tonight and thank you for the wisdom you give us in your word. Lord, may we meditate on these words tonight. Go back and read through Proverbs 5 through 7 and help us to glean more understanding. May it drive us to have a greater fear of you and a love of Christ. Lord, help us to make the small decisions every day that keep us on the path of righteousness. Help us to flee folly and to guard our hearts diligently. May we as fathers guide our sons in this path and work in our sons' hearts that they would be obedient and that they would follow. Help us to love one another with the love of Christ and hold each other accountable to stay on the path of righteousness and to follow wisdom with all our hearts. We ask in Jesus' name, amen.